We're always told that figuring out how ancient animals died is like solving a 100-million-year-old cold case. Scattered bones, faint footprints, microscopic clues, and decades of painstaking work by dedicated paleontologists. But every so often, the Earth itself hands us something far more extraordinary. Perfectly preserved crime scenes, where time literally stopped in its tracks. These fossils don't just show us death. They let us feel the final desperate heartbeats, the surge of raw panic, the stubborn primal rage, the quiet heartbreak, the suffocating terror, the splash of chaotic water, the sting of volcanic ash on the wind, and the sheer absurdity of it all. You can almost smell the blood-soaked sand, hear the frantic wing flaps, taste the toxic water. From warriors locked in an eternal grudge match to gentle creatures who never woke from their last peaceful nap. Here are some of the most emotional, bizarre, scientifically significant, and unforgettable deaths ever captured in the fossil record. These stories don't just entertain. They remind us that life has always been dramatic, fragile, intensely relatable, and sometimes hilariously, tragically unlucky. 1. The Fightin' Dinosaurs, a 75-million-year grudge match that never ended. In 1971, deep in the harsh, windswept Gobi Desert of Mongolia, a Polish-Mongolian expedition team made one of the most jaw-dropping discoveries. The legendary Fighting Dinosaurs specimen, now housed in Ulaanbaatar's Central Museum of Mongolian Dinosaurs. A sleek, feathered Velociraptor mongoliensis, the agile, intelligent predator with its infamous sickle-shaped killing claw, has that razor-sharp talon driven deep into the throat of a stocky Protoceratops andrewsi. You can almost hear the snarls, feel the hot breath, and smell the dust kicked up in their struggle. In a surge of pure, defiant fury, the plant-eater's powerful, parrot-like beak is clamped viciously around the raptor's left arm, crushing bones with bone-shattering force. The velociraptor's free hand grips the Protoceratops' skull, refusing to let go. Their bodies are twisted together in a final, desperate embrace, muscles locked, eyes probably blazing with rage, neither willing to yield. Then, without warning, a violent sandstorm or collapsing dune roared in like a wall of death and buried them alive mid-battle. They died simultaneously, still fighting, still clinging to their ancient grudge. No winner, just two magnificent lives frozen forever in stone. When you stand before this fossil today, you don't just see bones, you feel the heat of their final breaths, the waste of two incredible creatures consumed by a fight that no longer mattered. This specimen remains one of the most iconic symbols of prehistoric stubbornness, raw determination, and the high cost of never backing down. 2. The triple fatality, when the food chain collapses in total chaos. Imagine a serene, late Jurassic lagoon in what is now southern Germany, the crystal-clear water sparkling under a warm prehistoric sun. Gentle waves lapping at the shore, a Ramphorhynchus pterosaur glides gracefully just above the surface, its long jaws snapping up a tiny fish. It begins swallowing its meal on the wing, standard procedure for these dragon-like flyers. But from the depths explodes a large, heavily armored predatory fish, Aspidorhynchus, with its spear-like snout lined with razor-sharp teeth. It lunges upward in a burst of bubbles and fury, clamping onto the pterosaur's delicate, leathery wing membrane and dragging the entire scene underwater. Panic erupts in a frenzy of splashing and thrashing. The pterosaur is now choking on its half-swallowed meal, flapping desperately, while the fish finds itself fatally handcuffed, the wing jammed tight between its powerful jaws. It can't let go. It can't breathe properly. The weight pulls everything down. In a frantic, 30-second domino effect of pure terror and chaotic splashing, all three animals drown. The tiny fish, the thrashing pterosaur, and the overambitious predator that bit off far more than it could handle. Multiple specimens of this exact underwater tragedy have been exquisitely preserved in the world-famous Solnhofen limestone quarries. You can almost hear the desperate wing flaps and gurgling water. This fossil doesn't just show a bad day, it captures the heartbreaking moment. A simple lunch spiraled into a fatal disaster for an entire mini-food chain, teaching scientists about ancient predator-prey interactions. 3. The eternal sleepers, peaceful naps that became eternal rest. There's something profoundly moving and bittersweet about creatures who simply never woke up from their last peaceful nap. In China's Liaoning province, repeated volcanic eruptions around 125 million years ago created multiple prehistoric Pompeii moments in what was once a lush, forested lake environment. The most touching is Mei Long, soundly sleeping dragon, a small, duck-sized troodontid dinosaur discovered in 2004. It lies curled up in a perfectly natural, bird-like sleeping posture. Head tucked neatly under its feathered forearm for warmth, legs folded beneath its body, long tail wrapped protectively around itself like a cozy blanket. It probably died peacefully from carbon monoxide poisoning or sudden ashfall while napping. Other feathered dinosaurs in the same region were found in burrows, still in lifelike resting positions, with delicate feathers, skin impressions, and even undigested last meals preserved in their stomachs. These gentle, bird-like creatures lived in a beautiful but dangerously active volcanic landscape. One quiet evening, soft ash fell silently like deadly snow, suffocating them before they could even stir. The ash didn't just bury them. It immortalized their innocence, vulnerability, and final moments of peace for all eternity. These fossils revolutionized our understanding of dinosaur behavior, showing they roosted and slept just like modern birds. 4. Australia's prehistoric stampede. Terror etched forever in footprints. You can still feel the raw, heart-stopping panic radiating from these ancient stones like an electric charge. On a massive sandstone slab in Australia, thousands of tiny dinosaur footprints preserve a moment of sheer terror in perfect real-time detail. A peaceful herd of small ornithopods is strolling casually along a lake shore. Tracks relaxed, meandering, unhurried, with the casual pace of animals simply living their lives. Then, in a single shattering heartbeat, every single footprint erupts into desperate, high-speed sprints, all racing frantically in the exact same direction. Deeper gouges show where sharp claws dug in desperately during slips on wet mud. Overlapping prints reveal trampling and collisions in the chaos. Wild zigzags scream pure instinctive fear. Was it a sudden predator ambush? A flash flood bursting from the hills? An unseen horror emerging from the trees? The tracks simply vanish at the slab's edge. No bodies, no final answers. Those vanishing footprints leave us with an aching mystery that echoes across 100 million years. Did any of them escape the terror that chased them into oblivion? Standing before this slab today, you can almost hear the frantic breathing and the thunder of tiny feet pounding the mud. 5. The perfect school. An eerily orderly farewell. There's something hauntingly beautiful and deeply, profoundly sad about this synchronized end. In a 50-million-year-old lake bed, 259 fish lie preserved in perfect formation, all facing the same direction. maintaining neat, disciplined rows as if still cruising together through invisible underwater currents. One moment, they were swimming in harmonious unity. The next, a sudden toxic gas release from the lake bottom, volcanic ash fallout, or lethal algal bloom ended everything. In an instant. They didn't scatter in panic. They didn't float upside down. They simply stopped mid-swim and sank together as one, buried so rapidly that scavengers and currents never disturbed their orderly ranks. The most eerily polite, organized, and dignified mass death in Earth's long history, a silent snapshot of unity even in extinction. That gives scientists incredible insight into ancient schooling behavior. We've all bitten off more than we can chew. These prehistoric fish took that fatal mistake to legendary extremes. One 8-foot predatory fish attempted to swallow a rock-hard, 4-inch wide ammonite, a spiral-shelled creature completely whole. The shell lodged immovably in its throat or stomach. Just catastrophic overconfidence that likely led to immediate suffocation or fatal internal rupture. Even more dramatic is the world-famous fish in a fish fossil from Kansas. A colossal Cephactinus audax swallowed a nearly 6-foot Gillicus whole, head first. The prey fish remains perfectly curled and completely undigested inside the predator's rib cage. Both died shortly afterward. You can almost sense the growing panic, the regret, and the desperate thrashing as the bigger fish realized too late it had made a terrible, irreversible mistake. Greed has always carried a brutally heavy price, and these fossils help paleontologists understand ancient feeding ecology. This one touches the heart in the deepest, most lingering way imaginable. About 12 million years ago, a massive supervolcano eruption in what is now Idaho sent ultra-fine, razor-sharp volcanic ash drifting across North America. It blanketed ancient Nebraska for weeks in a silent, deadly haze that turned the sky gray and the air into a choking cloud. Hundreds of rhinos, 3-toed horses, camels, and other mammals gathered desperately at a single water hole, slowly choking. Smaller animals died first. Mothers collapsed protectively beside their calves. Many skeletons still hold their final mouthful of grass. It was a slow, agonizing, weeks-long ordeal of constant coughing, weakening bodies, and quiet, fading hope that one more drink might save them. The ashfall fossil beds preserve this heartbreaking scene exactly in situ, a poignant snapshot of dignity, desperation, and quiet suffering. The ultimate irony of opportunity, greed, and one very sticky mistake. In what is now downtown Los Angeles, sticky asphalt pools bubbled up from underground and disguised themselves as shallow, inviting water. A struggling mammoth or horse would sink in and cry out in distress, its desperate bellows carrying for miles. Every saber-toothed cat, dire wolf, and American lion came running for what seemed like an easy meal. The predators pounced, and immediately joined the nightmare, sinking deeper with every frantic thrash. More kept arriving at the sounds of chaos. Scavenging birds landed on the growing pile and got stuck too. One single pit alone yielded over 4,000 dire wolves and 2,000 saber-toothed cats. The tar preserved fur, skin, muscles, and even pollen in astonishing detail, capturing their final, humiliating, desperate struggles in haunting clarity. Even the undisputed kings of the Cretaceous weren't immune to collective, fatal stupidity. In Utah, at least 6 colossal Utah raptors were entombed together in one massive sandstone block. It started with one unlucky plant eater sinking in quicksand. A raptor charged in for the easy meal and sank immediately. Another saw opportunity and followed. This continued, one after another, until the entire pack was slowly drowning upright in the muck. Each probably thought it was smarter than the one before it. They all paid the ultimate price for herd mentality and overconfidence. Some tragedies feel timeless and universal across the ages. A 248-million-year-old ichthyosaur mother perished during labor. One pup halfway born and tragically stuck forever in the birth canal. One still inside her, and one tiny newborn lying lifeless beside her on the ancient seafloor. This single, profoundly moving fossil proved these creatures gave live birth. It captures a mother's ultimate, desperate fight to bring new life into a dangerous prehistoric world and revolutionized our understanding of marine reptile reproduction. During a brutal drought in ancient South Africa, a hibernating, mammal-like reptile peacefully shared its underground burrow with an injured amphibian. Two natural enemies lay side by side with no violence, no betrayal, just quiet coexistence and shared vulnerability in tough times. A sudden flood ended their fragile peace. In a world ruled by tooth and claw, this moment of unexpected compassion feels profoundly moving and hopeful, offering rare evidence of complex social behavior in early mammal relatives. A tiny, high-stakes drama captured for eternity in golden resin. In Burmese amber from 100 million years ago, a spider is poised just millimeters from delivering the killing bite to a helpless wasp tangled in silk. The wasp's head is turned directly toward its approaching doom. Another male spider lurks nearby in the same web. Then, flowing tree resin engulfs them both mid-action. Every delicate strand of silk, every flicker of terror and anticipation, preserved perfectly. Nature's most dramatic, heartbreaking, and perfectly timed screenshot. One that even revealed the earliest evidence of social web sharing in spiders. A baby dinosaur cracks out of its egg, takes its very first shaky breath of the Cretaceous world, and finds an 11-foot snake coiled around the nest. The serpent had specialized in raiding helpless hatchlings at nesting sites. A sudden sand collapse buried the entire scene before the meal could even be finished. The cruelest, most unfair welcome imaginable. In drought-stricken ancient Ecuador, 22 massive giant ground sloths turned a single water hole into their communal toilet. They drank, defecated, wallowed, and repeated the cycle for months on end. The water transformed into a toxic bacterial nightmare. Even as companions died around them, the survivors kept returning, fighting viciously over access, breaking ribs in the chaos, slowly poisoning themselves. A flood finally buried the disgusting, self-made graveyard exactly as it was. They literally created their own death trap and stubbornly refused to leave it. A sobering reminder of how poor choices can doom even the largest animals. From raging battles and gentle last naps to heartbreaking sacrifices, ironic traps, and absurd self-destruction, these fossils prove that life has always been intense, fragile, dramatic, and strangely human. Which story touched you the most? Which death made you feel awe, sadness, a wince, or even a dark laugh? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this journey through deep time moved you, please give it a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more incredible, mind-blowing stories from our planet's wild past. The ancient world still has so much to teach us about resilience, mistakes, survival, and the incredible power of chance. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and remember, the smallest decisions can echo across millions of years.